Good morning, everybody. Hopefully everyone's having an okay morning, even though, yes, we do have to wake up a little earlier, although it doesn't really make a difference to me. I still have to be on campus at the same time, no matter what time class starts. So um, I figured I haven't done a song this week, so I figured I would start us off with one. So good morning, everybody. That was hopefully everyone, there we go. We got a couple more people coming in. Let me go ahead and switch them on attendance. All right. Those of you, again, you could go ahead and turn your cameras off. Try to get here a few minutes earlier if you can, just because class did start a couple minutes ago. Okay. Yeah. So again, class starts at 8. So again, try to be here at 8 as much as possible. But I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna play a song that I haven't played for you yet. It's it's obviously a punk song because that's mostly what I play, but it is technically an Irish punk song from a band called Flogging Molly. They're a fun band. It's the last concert that I saw before we went in quarantine. But anyways, here we go. His eyes had closed and his last breath spoke. He had seen all to be seen. A life once full, now an empty place, where the blossoms his early grave. Walk away, me boys, walk away, me boys. In the morning we'll be free, with a golden tear from your mother dear, and raises left to the flag for me. Then the rosary beads cut the 1, 2, 3 fell apart and they hit the floor. In a garb of black, we must pay respect to the color we're born to mourn. Walk away, boys, walk away. The morning will be free, with the golden tear from your mother dear, let us left and the flag for me. Of a dancing gun. Walk away, me boys, walk away, me boys. The morning will be free, with a golden tear from your mother, with a love to the flag for me. From the eastern to the western shores, where many men and many will run away to fight this new night, to freedom waits on home. Where there's a man for the slave, name from nature's kingdom come. All right, so a couple more people are attempting to join us. I'm going to go ahead and let them in. All right, so again, those of you who just joined us, class did start about 6 minutes ago, so try to get here a little earlier next time. And okay, so yesterday you were supposed to, I sent you a couple remind messages. So first one I wanted to talk about was every Wednesday and Friday from 1:30 to 3 o'clock. So obviously not today because today's Thursday, but yesterday and then tomorrow from 1:30 to 3, I'm on Zoom, same Zoom as normal. And if you have a D or an F, you are expected to attend unless you are already going to another class, if you're like on a list for another class. But otherwise, you do need to attend. You need to be coming to work on missing assignments. Obviously, if you need help, you can ask for help there, but mostly you just need to be there to work on your assignments until they're finished. For some people, we eventually will be doing Edgenuity. Yeah, we don't need videos on right now. So anyways, just, yeah, so that's, again, something that I expect you all to be attending if you need it. I do have less D's and F's overall than I started off last semester. I mean, granted, it's only the second week, but still, I'm hoping that some of you have like turned a page and that we are like going to like stay on top of our stuff this semester. So fingers crossed. Okay, the other thing that I was going to talk about, the other remind message, was that the dialectical journal was due last night. So not the entire thing, obviously. The entire thing won't be due for probably 3 to 4 weeks. So you got some time on that. But again, we're going to be turning it in a little bit at a time. So you need to make sure that as we are reading, that you are also submitting your work. There might be some scenes that we don't turn in that are only like a couple pages long. So I might combine some into like one assignment, but for the most part, it's going to be one scene, submit your journal. Okay. So, and just as a reminder that the journal is one quote per page. Also too, the pages don't always match up to the book. So for the book, it's important that you are, because you're using the ebook. So just stick to one quote per page. If the page numbers don't match up, that's fine. You can change the page number if you would like to make it easier on you, but you don't have to add or do anything like that. Just whatever pages that there are. So if there's like 11 pages for Act 1, Scene 2, then just do 11 quotes. And again, one quote, paraphrase it. You can use No Fear Shakespeare. I hadn't talked to you about that, but No Fear Shakespeare is a website that they have like the original Shakespearean language, and then they also have like a more contemporary version of it right next to it. So when you're doing the translation, you're able to use that as a guide. I don't necessarily want it copy and pasted, but if you need help having you figure out like what's being said, you can absolutely use that. And then finally, you have to answer one of the questions that I have listed at the top of the column. So like, what does it say about the character? You could talk about like, what does it say about the character that they're talking about? Was it social commentary? Why do you think Shakespeare included it? Do you think it's foreshadowing something later? And again, please try to be specific. You only have to write one sentence, but be specific in that one sentence. So don't say like I read yesterday that someone had said, oh, well, they're worried about someone like getting too much power. It's like, well, who's someone? So they're worried about Caesar getting too much power. So, yep, just make sure that you guys are doing that. So today, again, we're going to be reading Act 1, Scene 2. It's a little longer than yesterday, or not yesterday, but day before yesterday on Tuesday was kind of like the little appetizer. And now we're going to into the main course a little bit. So it's about 17 minutes long. We're going to read through this. We're going to read it together, and then I might stop here and there just to kind of like explain some stuff. So I do need you to be listening again. There's going to be more reading this semester in class because we are reading longer texts. So again, we're reading Julius Caesar first. So this is first for us. Next is Lord of the Flies. I know it's kind of hard to see right then. There you go. Lord of the Flies. And then we'll end the semester with night. Okay, so a little longer text, so we will be doing some reading. So again, it is really important that you guys aren't checked out during class, that you are like staying on top of it. And it's a lot harder when we're not in class for me to see whether or not you are. So again, partially it's honor system, partially it's just you having that like ability to kind of like self-check yourself and make sure that you're doing what you're supposed to. Okay. So we're going to read this, and then as soon as we're done reading it, you will be doing the dialectical journals by yourselves in breakout rooms. So I am going to go ahead and I am going to end the recording right now, and we're going to go ahead and start reading. Actually, no, I'll keep it running. I'll keep it running because there might be some stuff I need to explain that would be good for people to hear who are not here. Okay. All right. So you guys should have this open. We are on here, it'd be page 5. So make sure you are opening up page 5. So we should be Act 1, Scene 2, the same, a public place. When I'm saying the same, it means Rome. We're still in Rome, so. And basically it's just ended with Morellus and Flavius being upset at the commoners for celebrating Caesar's return after his defeat of Pompey. And now we're going to be introduced to some new characters, including Caesar, including some of what are called the conspirators. The conspirators are the group of people who are ultimately going to conspire to assassinate Caesar, and then also some of Caesar's allies as well. So, all right, let's go ahead and get started.
Calpurnia.
Peace ho! Caesar speaks!
Calpurnia.
Here, my lord.
Stand you directly in Antonius' way when he doth run his course. Antonius?
Caesar, my lord.
Forget not in your speed, Antonius, to touch Calpurnia, for our elders say the Baron, touch it in this holy chase, shake off their sterile curse.
All right, so let me explain that really quick. So, a couple things. Casca is one of the conspirators, so just FYI on that. So keep an eye on him. We all know who Caesar is. Calpurnia is Caesar's wife, and Antony is like Caesar's best friend. So him and Caesar are very close. They're like again, like I said. Antony will defend Caesar once Caesar dies again. Right now they're having, again, celebrating his return, his victory. They're having a race right now that Antony is going to take part in. So that's when he's saying, stand you directly. He's telling Calpurnia to stand directly in Antonius's way when he doth run his course. So literally his running his course like his race. And he doesn't mean like to stand directly in front, like he's going to run her over or anything. He's basically telling her that he tells Antony, don't forget to touch Calpurnia, like just not like inappropriately or anything, but just like, like touch her hand or her shoulder or whatever as he runs by. Because again, Caesar is very superstitious. And he's saying that their elders say that the barren, which if something's barren, if you think like of a barren field, it means it's not producing anything, right? That if like you are like running, he's saying that like there's a superstition that if during a race he touches Calpurnia, that they will no longer be sterile. And again, so that means that Caesar and Calpurnia aren't able to have children right now. And historically, and in a sexist way, women were typically blamed for not being able to have children. So obviously we know scientifically now that it could be the man or the woman. But anyways, he's basically telling Antony, as you run, just like touch her so that way maybe like the superstition will pan out and she will not be sterile anymore. All right, let's go ahead and keep going.
Shall remember, when Caesar says, do this, it is performed.
Set on, and leave no ceremony out.
Caesar!
Who calls?
Let every noise be still. Peace yet again!
Who is it in the press that calls on me? I hear a tongue shriller than all the music cries Caesar. Speak. Caesar is turned to ear.
Beware the Ides of March.
What man is that?
A soothsayer bids you beware the Ides of March.
Set him before me. Let me see his face.
Fellow, come from the throng. Look upon Caesar.
What sayest thou to me now? Speak once again.
Beware the Ides of March.
He is a dreamer. Let us leave him. Pass!
Will you go see the order of the course?
Not I.
I pray you do.
I am not gamesome. I do lack some part of that quick spirit that is in Antony. Let me not hinder, Cassius, your desires. I leave you.
Brutus, I do observe you now of late. I have not from your eyes that gentleness and show of love as I was wont to have. You bear too stubborn and too strange a hand over your friend that loves you.
Cassius, be not deceived.
Okay, really quick. Somebody had posted in the chat. Just a reminder that if you need the link to the text, it is in the assignment. I'll go ahead and put it in the chat though. So here is. I also put a question in there, and a couple people answered. So soothsayer is yes, like a prophet or a fortune teller almost. But yes, it's somebody who like predicts the future. Again, a lot of people believe that those people like were accurate and like legitimate. The Ides of March is basically it's basically a holiday. It's March 15th. It's a day that taxes would be collected in that time period. So, but anyway, so yeah, so he's telling him beware the Ides of March. Caesar is kind of like just passing it off like, oh, no big deal. Now we're meeting Brutus and Cassius, and Brutus and Cassius are they are like the main two conspirators. So they are the ones who are like behind everything. Now we will be kind of like arguing whether or not Brutus is noble in his desire to overthrow Caesar, and Cassius will be talking about his intentions as well. So anyways, let's go ahead. Let's keep reading.
Deceived. If I have veiled my look, I turn the trouble of my countenance merely upon myself. Vexed I am of late with passions of some difference, conceptions only proper to myself, which gives some soil perhaps to my behaviors. But let not therefore my good friends be grieved, among which number Cassius be you one, nor construe any further my neglect, and that poor Brutus with himself at war forgets the shows of love to other men.
Then, Brutus, I have much mistook your passion, by means whereof this breast of mine hath buried thoughts of great value, worthy cogitations. Tell me, good Brutus, can you see your face?
No, Cassius, for the eye sees not itself but by reflection, by some other things.
'Tis just. And it is very much lamented, Brutus, that you have no such mirrors as will turn your hidden worthiness into your eye, that you might see your shadow. I have heard where many of the best respect in Rome, except immortal Caesar, speaking of Brutus and groaning underneath this age's yoke, have wished that noble Brutus had his eyes.
Okay. I know that scene kind of seems a little confusing, so let's go over it real quick. Basically, Cassius is saying, Brutus, you look like you've been troubled lately. your eyes haven't had that same gentleness that they normally do. And Brutus is saying, he's basically saying, yeah, I am troubled, and I apologize if I've had like this weird look about me, but it's not because of you or my friends, so don't worry about that. I'm just troubled right now. And he says that Brutus is at war with himself. He talks in the third person at the end of that. And then Cassius says, he asks him like this weird question, like, can you see your face? And Brutus's reply is like, well, no, the eyes, I can't see myself without a tool for me to see. Like, I can't, view myself without something like a mirror for me to look at. I think Cassius says, well, that's a good point, but it's very sad that you can't see yourself because you're such a great guy. Everybody in Rome would love to be you, except for immortal Caesar, which he says, like sarcastically. But anyway, so that's kind of what that exchange was about. So.
Into what dangers would you lead me, Cassius? That you would have me seek into myself for that which is not in me.
Therefore, good Brutus, be prepared to hear. And since you know you cannot see yourself so well as by reflection, I, your glass, will modestly discover to yourself that of yourself which you yet know not of. And be not jealous on me, gentle Brutus. Were I a common laugher, or did use to stale with ordinary oaths my love to every new protester, if you know that I do fawn on men and hug them hard and after scandal them, or if you know that I profess myself in banqueting to all the rout, then hold me dangerous.
What means this shouting? I do fear the people choose Caesar for their king.
Aye, do you fear it? Then must I think you would not have it so?
I would not, Cassius. Yet I love him well. But wherefore do you hold me here so long? What is it that you would impart to me? If it be aught toward the general good, set honor in one eye and death in t'other, and I will look on both indifferently. For let the gods so speed me as I love the name of honor more than I fear death.
I know that virtue to be in you, Brutus, as well as I do know your outward favor.
Okay, so again, oops, wrong one. There we go. So a couple things. What is Brutus afraid of? And again, if I can have everybody respond in the chat, not just a couple of people, I just want to make sure that we're all awake, that we haven't like gone back to sleep or anything. I know it's early for some of you, but I just want to make sure that we are all on the same page. So again, Brutus taught at the top of page 9 here. And then Cassius says, do you fear it? What is he afraid of? So I got one person respond. So let's get everybody to respond too, please. Okay, thank you. So Kathleen, Alexander, good. Okay, Joshua. Again, look at what Brutus says. What means this shouting? I do fear I do fear the people choose Caesar for their king. Cassius, do you fear it? Then must I think you would not have it so. So it's not the crowd. Yeah, so let's not zone out. Let's again try to stay focused on it. This isn't one of those texts, guys, that where like the language is so simple that you could just come pick it back up. It's really important that we're all like staying focused on this, because if you get distracted, if you zone out, you will get lost. And I don't want you to get lost. So I'm here to kind of help guide you through it. Okay, most of you got it. Good. And again, if I could get a few more people to respond, because there are still several of you who are not responding. Thank you, Matt. Like, I haven't heard anything from Aaliyah yet. I haven't heard anything from Aaron G, Aaron R. Well, I just said it, Desi. So again, we literally just said what he's afraid of. So again, let's make sure we are paying attention. The question was, what is Brutus afraid of? Again, it's at the top of page 9. see, Camilla, Chloe, Sierra. All right, so most of us got it. So again, please, let's make sure that we are all staying focused on what we're doing, because like I said, I am your tour guide through Shakespeare. Let me guide you. Let me help you get through it. If you don't accept my tour, you might get lost. So I don't want you to get lost. I want you to stay like on the right path, so that way you know where we're going and what's going on. But yes, most of you got it that Brutus is afraid that Caesar will be chosen for king. In the next few lines, he says, I would not, Cassius, yet I love him well. But wherefore do you hold me here so long? And remember, when they say love, they're not talking about romantic love. They're talking about the like love of friendship that he has. Brutus and Caesar are at this point just as much friends as Antony and Caesar. They are like, again, they're like best friends. So Brutus is really like struggling internally with this, because on one hand, he's afraid of Caesar getting too much power. On the other hand, Caesar is his best friend. So he's like kind of conflicted about where to go. Cassius doesn't have really any love for Caesar, so he's not too worried about it. But let's go ahead and continue. Again, let's make sure that we're staying focused on this, and that way we can get through it, all right?
Well, honor is the subject of my story. I cannot tell what you and other men think of this life, but for my single self, I had as lief not be as live to be in awe of such a thing as I myself. I was born free as Caesar, so were you. We both have fed as well, and we can both endure the winter's cold as well as he. For once, upon a raw and gusty day, the troubled Tiber chafing with her shores, Caesar said to me, Darest thou, Cassius, now leap in with me into this angry flood and swim to yonder point? Upon the word, accoutred as I was, I plunged in and bade him follow. So indeed he did. The torrent roared, and we did buffet it with lusty sinews, throwing it aside and stemming it with hearts of controversy. But ere we could arrive the point proposed, Caesar cried, Help me, Cassius, or I sink! I, as Aeneas, our great ancestor, did from the flames of Troy upon his shoulder the old Anchises bear, so from the waves of Tiber did I, the tired Caesar. And this man is now become a god, and Cassius is a wretched creature, and must bend his body if Caesar carelessly but nod on him. He had a fever when he was in Spain, and when the fit was on him, I did mark how he did shake. 'Tis true, this god did shake. His coward lips did from their colour fly, and that same eye, whose bend doth awe the world, did lose his lustre. I did hear him groan. Aye, and that tongue of his that bade the Romans mark him and write his speeches in their books, alas, it cried, Give me some drink, Titinius, as a sick girl. Ye gods, it doth amaze me. A man of such a feeble temper should so get the start of the majestic world and bear the palm alone.
It's going to take me a while to get used to like going back from muted to unmuted, but obviously Cassius has some issues with Caesar. He's not a big fan. He gives two instances of Caesar, even though people perceive Caesar to be a god and Caesar wants people to perceive him as a god, what did he do that was not very godlike? There was two things. Just name one of them in the chat. So what were two things that Caesar did that he needed help with that would not be very godlike? So in one case, Cassius had to help save him, and then Titonius had to help not save him, but had to help him when he was weak. But what made him, do you guys get what like happened to him when he was weak and needed like water? Good, Freddie, good. Okay, Alexander, good. And there was another thing too before, like that Cassius, what did Cassius had to help? How did Cassius save him? For the people who haven't responded yet. Alexander, good. Again, like I said, I would like to hear from people who haven't responded. Again, if you've already responded to this question, you don't have to respond again. Good, Ricardo, thank you. Okay, let's get a few more people involved in the conversation. So what was one of the two things that happened to Caesar where he needed help that proved that he was mortal, that he was not a god? All right, most of you guys are getting this. This is good. So again, Caesar basically told Cassius, let's swim across this great flood. We need to swim across the Tiber River, which is again a very large river. And then he starts, sinking because he's not physically able to do it. And he says, Cassius, help me or else I'll sink. And then Cassius is kind of like patting himself on the shoulder a little bit and comparing himself to a lot of like heroes of Roman stories, like Roman mythology. Like Aeneas is a Roman hero. And anyways, so he had to save him, and then he makes a comment about this man is now a god, and Cassius, again talking in third person, is a wretched creature and must bend his body if Caesar carelessly, but not on him. And then he's like, not only did he sink, but as most of you have pointed out, he had what they said, he had a fever in Spain, and he had a fit. So when somebody is having a fit, that basically means that he has epilepsy. He's having a seizure. So not only did he have a fever, but he was also having a seizure, which is why the color from his lips, he said the color from his coward lips did fly. That's what it means. Because, like when you if somebody's having a seizure or passes out, like they lose the blood flow from their lips, right? So yeah, that's essentially what happened. All right, so there's more shouting. Again, the people are cheering Caesar on. They're encouraging him. Brutus is worried that all the shouting means that they are going to be offering him a crown, that they're trying to, because Caesar's not officially a king yet, but that's the direction that we're heading though. Hold on, gotta re-log in. All right, here we go.
Another general shout. I do believe that these applauses are for some new honors that are heaped on Caesar.
Why, man, he doth bestride the narrow world like a colossus, and we petty men walk under his huge legs and peep about to find ourselves dishonorable graves. Men at some time are masters of their fates. The fault, dear Brutus, is not in our stars, but in ourselves that we are underlings. Brutus and Caesar. What should be in that Caesar? Why should that name be sounded more than yours? For write them together, yours is as fair a name. Sound them, it doth become the mouth as well. Weigh them, it is as heavy. Conjure with them, Brutus will start a spirit as soon as Caesar. Now in the names of all the gods at once, upon what meat doth this our Caesar feed, that he is grown so great? Age, thou art shamed. Rome, thou hast lost the breed of noble bloods. When went there by an age since the great flood, but it was famed with more than with one man? When could they say till now that talked of Rome, that her wide walls encompassed but one man? Now is it Rome indeed, and room enough, when there is in it but one only man? Oh, you and I have heard our fathers say, there was a Brutus once that would have brooked the eternal devil to keep his state in Rome as easily as a king.
That you do love.
I did it again where I was muted. So Cassius again he's wanting obviously to turn Brutus against Caesar. He knows Brutus and Caesar are really good friends. And so he's basically trying to like point out all the flaws of Caesar to Brutus, but also trying to build up Brutus's confidence a little bit. So he says in the middle of, on the right hand side on page 11, it says Brutus and Caesar. What should be in that Caesar? So you'll notice that the names are in quotes. Why should that name be sounded more than yours? So why should Caesar's name be said more than yours? Write them together. Yours is as fair a name. Brutus sounds just as nice as Caesar. Sound them. It does become the mouse as well. Weigh them. It is heavy. So literally, when he's saying weigh them, they're literally the same amount of letters. They're both 6 letters long. So he's saying his name's not any better than yours. Why should he get all the accolades, all the praise, and Brutus gets nothing? So he's again trying to build up Brutus's confidence while pointing out why Caesar should not be a god. But let's go ahead and keep going.
Love me, I am nothing jealous. What you would work me to, I have some aim. How I thought of this and of these times I shall recount hereafter. For this present, I would not, so with love I might entreat you, be any further moved. What you have said, I will consider. What you have to say, I will with patience hear, and find a time both meet to hear and answer such high things. Till then, my noble friend, chew upon this. Brutus had rather be a villager than to repute himself a son of Rome under these hard conditions as this time is like to lay upon us.
I am glad that my weak words have struck but thus much show of fire from Brutus.
The games are done, and Caesar is returning.
As they pass by, pluck Casca by the sleeve, and he will, after his sour fashion, tell you what hath proceeded worthy note today.
I will do so. But look you, Cassius, the angry spot doth glow on Caesar's brow, and all the rest look like a chidden train. Calpurnia's cheek is pale, and Cicero looks with such ferret and such fiery eyes as we have seen him in the Capitol being crossed in conference by some senator.
Casca will tell us what the matter is.
Antonius, Caesar, let me have men about me that are fat, sleek-headed men, and such as sleep o' nights. Yond Cassius hath a lean and hungry look. He thinks too much. Such men are dangerous.
Fear him not, Caesar. He's not dangerous. He is a noble Roman and well given.
Would he were fatter. But I fear him not. Yet if my name were liable to fear, I do not know the man I should avoid so soon as that spare Cassius. He reads much, he is a great observer, and he looks quite through the deeds of men. He loves no plays, as thou dost, Antony. He hears no music. Seldom he smiles, and smiles in such a sort as if he mocked himself and scorned his spirit that could be moved to smile at anything. Such men as he be never at heart's ease whilst they behold a greater than themselves, and therefore are they very dangerous. I rather tell thee what is to be feared than what I fear. For always I am Caesar. Come on my right hand, for this ear is deaf, and tell me truly what thou thinkst of him.
You pulled me by the cloak. Would you speak with me?
Aye, Casca. Tell us what hath chanced today that Caesar looks so sad.
Why, you were with him, were you not?
I should not then ask Casca what had chanced.
Why, there was a crown offered him. And being offered him, he put it by with the back of his hand, thus. And then the people fell a-shouting.
What was the second noise for?
Why, for that too.
They shouted thrice. What was the last cry for?
Why, for that too.
Was the crown offered him thrice?
Aye, marry was't. And he put it by, thrice. Every time gentler than other. And at every putting by, mine honest neighbours shouted.
Who offered him the crown?
Why, Antony.
Tell us the manner of it, gentle Casca.
I can as well be hanged as tell the manner of it. It was mere foolery, I did not mark it. I saw Mark Antony offer him a crown. It was not a crown neither. It was one of these coronets. And as I told you, he put it by once. But for all that, to my thinking, he would fain have had it. Then he offered it to him again. Then he put it by again. But to my thinking, he was very loath to lay his fingers off it. And then he offered it the third time. He put it the third time by. And still, as he refused it, the rabblement hooted and clapped their chopped hands and threw up their sweaty nightcaps and uttered such a deal of stinking breath because Caesar refused the crown that it had almost choked Caesar, for he swooned and fell down at it. And for mine own part, I durst not laugh for fear of opening my lips and receiving the bad air.
But soft, I pray you. What, did Caesar swoon?
He fell down in the marketplace and foamed at mouth and was speechless.
'Tis very like. He hath the falling sickness.
No, Caesar hath it not. But you and I and honest Casca, we have the falling sickness.
Once again, I was muted. Okay, so it's been a while since I stopped us, so let's go back. First, Caesar says something to Antony about, he asked basically Antony, do you trust Cassius, essentially? He says, let me have men about me that are fat, sleek-headed men and such as sleep o' nights. Yon Cassius has a lean and hungry look. He thinks too much. Such men are dangerous. So again, think about that statement. He's basically saying he doesn't want, to have people around him who are fat just because he wants to be around people who are fat. It's because if people are well fed, if people are well taken care of, they're content, they're pleased, right? But Cassius, he says, looks lean and hungry, so that means that he could be power hungry. He wants, more. He's not satisfied with what he has. So that's why Caesar doesn't trust Cassius. And Antony says, don't worry, fear him not. He's not dangerous. He's a noble Roman. And then Caesar, I wish he were fatter. Again, I wish he was more satisfied with what he had. I wish he, because, and then he says, but I fear him not, which is, we know, a lie, because why would he bring it up if he didn't fear him? And then anyways, after that little speech that he gives about him, like, I'm mighty Caesar, blah, blah, blah. Then Casca enters. So Casca, Brutus, and Cassius all have a little chat together. Again, Brutus and Cassius heard the crowd shout thrice. And for each time, what was being offered to Caesar that caused the crowd to shout? Yeah, what did the crowd offer to him thrice that he denied? Thank you, Aaron. R. Yeah. So far, we're all on the same path. Make sure everybody responds. It's just a one-word answer, or two if you include the. Right, and it wasn't like, okay. Yeah, Kathleen, we're gonna get to that. So, but yes, so he was offered a crown 3 times. It wasn't a real crown. It was what they call a coronet. So it's like those little things like made with like the vines and flowers and things like that. So Antony was just in the crowd, but it was more symbolic than anything else, right? So even though it wasn't like a true crown, it was the idea is like, hey, everybody, look what I'm doing. I'm giving a crown to Caesar, and everybody's like all happy. And then remember that this was, thousands of years ago. So this wasn't written thousands of years ago, but the events of this play took place thousands of years ago. So hygiene wasn't like a big concern for a lot of people. So Casca talks about how the rabblement, which, all the commoners shouted and clapped their chopped hands, so like their dry hands from working, and threw up their sweaty nightcaps, and uttered such a deal of stinking breaths, because again, it's not like they had like dental hygiene. So the smell of all the commoners basically caused Caesar to swoon and basically it's like gets woozy, and then he falls down, and then he foams at the mouth. So yes, like Castellina pointed out, he did have a seizure, and that's what the falling sickness is. He says, Brutus, "'Tis very like he has the falling sickness, so he has seizures, he has epilepsy." And then Cassius says, "No, Caesar has it not, but you and I and honest Casca, we have the falling sickness." Because again, Cassius's big issue is that Caesar is perfect in the eyes of himself and like everybody else. And it's like he doesn't really have it. We all have it. We're the only ones that can fall because we're not immortal like Caesar. So again, Cassius is very petty, a little whiny, and very, very jealous of Caesar's power. All right, let's go ahead and keep going. We have about 4 more minutes.
I know not what you mean by that, but I'm sure Caesar fell down. If the tag-rag people did not clap him and hiss him according as he pleased and displeased them, as they used to do the players in the theatre, I am no true man.
What said he when he came unto himself?
Marry, before he fell down, when he perceived the common herd was glad he refused the crown, he plucked me ope his doublet and offered them his throat to cut. If I had been a man of any occupation, if I would not have taken him at a word, I might go to hell among the rogues. And so he fell. When he came to himself again, he said, if he had done or said anything amiss, he desired their worships to think it was his infirmity. 3 or 4 wenches where I stood cried, alas, good soul, and forgave him with all their hearts. Oh, but there's no heed to be taken of them. If Caesar had stabbed their mothers, they would have done no less.
And after that he came thus sad away.
Aye.
Did Cicero say anything?
Aye. He spoke Greek.
To what effect?
Nay, and I tell you that, I'll ne'er look you in the face again. But those that understood him smiled at one another and shook their heads. But for mine own part, it was Greek to me. I could tell you more news, too. Morallus and Flavius, for pulling scarfs off Caesar's images, are put to silence. Very well. There was more foolery yet, if I could remember it.
Will you sup with me tonight, Casca?
No, I'm promised forth.
Will you dine with me tomorrow?
Aye, if I be alive and your mind hold, and your dinner worth the eating.
Good. I will expect you.
Do so. Farewell, both.
Okay, almost at the end, but couple of things. Make sure, good, I'm not muted. Okay, so Casca basically was saying that after he fell down, he apologized to everybody, and the crowd was like, oh, don't worry about it, poor soul, good soul, and forgave him with all their hearts. But Casca kind of said something funny that if Caesar had stabbed their mothers, they would have still forgiven him, basically. He said there's no need to be taken of them. If Caesar had stabbed their mothers, they would have done so no less. So they would have still forgiven him. And then afterwards, he's basically saying that Cicero, one of the other senators, said something, but he couldn't understand it because he was speaking Greek, which is a famous saying that say it's Greek to me, meaning you don't understand what's being said. And then Cassius is basically like starting the plot. He's starting to get the gears turning a little bit. So he's having Cassius and Casca are going to have a dinner. We can only assume it's to like make plots and plans about what's going to be happening. And then what happened to Morellus and Flavius, the 2 characters that we met in scene 1, for pulling the scars off Caesar's images? What happened to them? Okay, Kathleen, yes, you are on the right path. So what does that mean though, Aaron? What does that? And Kayloni, again, I know you guys are writing what it says there. Yeah, exactly. Yep, Kalani, you're right. All right, most of you guys got it. When it says they were put to silence, that means that they were executed. They were killed for taking off all the decorations off of Caesar's images. So they were killed. So, all right, we're gonna go ahead finish it. Like I said, we just have a couple minutes left of reading.
What a blunt fellow is this grown to be. He was quick metal when he went to school.
So is he now in execution of any bold or noble enterprise, however he puts on this tardy form. This rudeness is a source to his good wit, which gives men stomach to digest his words with better appetite.
And so it is. For this time I will leave you. Tomorrow, if you please to speak with me, I will come home to you. Or if you will, come home to me, and I will wait for you.
I will do so. Till then, think of the world. Well, Brutus, thou art noble. Yet I see thy honorable metal may be wrought from that it is disposed. Therefore it is meet that noble minds keep ever with their likes. For who so firm that cannot be seduced? Caesar doth bear me hard, but he loves Brutus. If I were Brutus now and he were Cassius, he should not humor me. I will this night, in several hands, in at his window throw, as if they came from several citizens, writings, all tending to the great opinion that Rome holds of his name, wherein obscurely Caesar's ambition shall be glanced at. And after this, let Caesar seat him sure, for we will shake him, or worse days endure.
Okay, so Cassius's plan is, he says, I will this night in several hands. So when he says hands, he means like handwriting, several different like forms of handwriting, in at his window's throw. So he's going to throw several letters in different, like making it look like it was written from different people, as if they came from several citizens. Writings, all tending to the great opinion that Rome holds of his, Brutus's name. Wherein, and then wherein obscurely Caesar's ambition shall be glanced at. So basically, praising the great Brutus, we're all afraid of Caesar. So he's going to write a bunch of letters and basically kind of like trick him into almost like catfishing him a little bit, just not, but it's just to get him like more concerned about, like, again, oh, Rome is afraid of Caesar's power. You're so great, Brutus. Please save us, He's kind of got that like savior mentality that he wants to save Rome, Okay, so, oh, too much. All right, so going back to what we're working on. So you guys are going to be on JC, Julius Caesar, Dialectical Journal, Act 1, Scene 2. Make sure you go to the right one. Some people turned in Scene 1 to Scene 2. So if you did, make sure that you turn in the correct one to Scene 1, and then, let's go ahead and update that. But again, your journal, go ahead and open the journal from yesterday. I don't know if you click on this, if it's just going to make a new copy, even if you typed on it before. So you might have to just go to Google Drive and open the one that you did yesterday. But it's your call, however you want to do it. Again, you have access to the text to go back and look, but fill out one quote per page. Actually, I am going to open it up real quick. There it goes. Sorry, I'm just waiting for it to load. Okay. So obviously it ended, on page 19. So let's see. We got so it actually starts on page 5. So it actually will go to like So like I said, it's like basically like a page off, but again, you're doing still the same amount. So you need to do quote, you need to do paraphrase, which you can use fear. If you just Google that, it'll come up and you'll be able to go to that website. And then one of these questions. So again, what does it say about the character? Just choose one of them. It could be something else. Again, I just don't want summary. I did still see some summary. Just tell me what the quote said. And if you start doing that, I gave everybody full credit yesterday because it was our first time. But I talked about what were good responses and what responses needed work. So please make sure that you are staying focused and you are doing this to the best of your ability. What questions do you guys have for me before I put you in breakout rooms to work on this? Still the same thing that you did on Tuesday, how you did the dialectical journal for Act 1, Scene 1, where we did the quotes. You're doing that for Act 1, Scene 2. So on each page, you're going to pick out one quote, paraphrase it, and then answer one of the questions. Kathleen, I would fix the pages just to make it easier because when we go to like write the brief writes and essays, it would be better if you had the right page numbers. So that way, when you go to do the quotes, you know which page number to cite when you quote it. But you technically don't have to, but I would. But like I said, it is like a page off right now. Any other questions? All right, and then I think I might actually do something a little bit different. How about I put you guys, because there are 11 pages and it's quite a bit. How about I try putting you guys into groups, and that way you guys can work together to get this done. That might be better, and you guys can kind of split it up and work together. So let's go ahead and try that. So I'm going to put you guys into groups of 3. And you guys can work together and try and get it done.